Number 10. Black Widow. No, not that Black Widow. Natasha is sadly not a magical super spy, though that is a comic I would read. Clairvoyant is the version of the character we are talking about here. Clairvoyant was Marvel's Black Widow prior to Natasha. In fact, Claire first appeared in 1940 in the comics, while Natasha wouldn't make her first appearance until 1964. Initially, Madame Clairvoyant was a psychic-based mystic who could communicate with the dead, a medium if you will. She herself, however, would end up dead, and it would be then that she would be resurrected with superpowers by someone who claimed to be Satan himself. She set out to claim the souls of evildoers and deliver them to her master. In exchange, as Satan's ambassador, she was supposedly made immortal and given supernatural powers, which allowed her to teleport to the Hell Dimension, granted her super strength and endurance, her death touch, the ability to heal, fly, turn invisible, and shapeshift. Pretty powerful magics, especially if they actually came from the real Satan himself. Number 9. FREYJA FREYRDOTTIR. While you might not think of Thor's mother as being a witch in comparison to her role as the All-Mother, it has been established before in the comics that Freyja is capable of accomplishing magical feats. We don't yet know the range of her abilities when it comes to her magical power, but she is also a very powerful Asgardian and skilled warrior. So she also gets additional power when it comes to that. We have seen her able to seemingly wield magic, however, when it comes to creating shields and teleportation, but it's unknown what level of spellcaster she might be. Should the comics want to expand on this point, I would not be surprised if we learned that she was much more powerful when it came to her magical abilities than we give her credit for here. And there's lots of pictures of her doing some magic. Alright friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying it, and I don't know, maybe subscribe if you haven't yet. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you doing? We've been around for a while, come on, hit that subscribe for me. Number 8. Jennifer KALE. Jennifer KALE is an ally of the Man-Thing and is a descendant of the cult of ZATANNA. Her grandfather, in fact, was still a leader of the cult when she was just a teenager. Wanting to experiment with witchcraft, Jennifer KALE used one of her grandfather's old books to do so. This unleashed a demon, which Man-Thing saved her from, creating a psychic link between Jennifer and Man-Thing. She would later be given powers by an ancient wizard who recruited her to help him defeat demons who were coming to conquer Earth after the Tome of ZATANNA seemingly disappeared. Jennifer's powers allow her to cast spells with a mere thought. She not only calls on power from within herself, but can also tap into the power of ambient magical energy within the universe and use it, as well as energy from other dimensions. Her powers grant her many abilities, including the ability to teleport, create magical shields, summon bolts, and manipulate the minds of others. Number 7. Amanda Sefton. Amanda Sefton was originally known as Jemaine. She comes from the family that took in Nightcrawler and raised him among their own children. As such, Amanda is basically like Nightcrawler's adopted sister. After the death of their brother Stefan, Amanda's mother, Margali, believed Nightcrawler was to blame. Jemaine then traveled to America to find out for herself and changed her name to Amanda Sefton, going undercover as a flight attendant and dating Nightcrawler in order to learn more. Pretty weird that the two dated in my books, cause yeah, they are siblings, even if Nightcrawler's her adopted brother. Still weird, but yeah, it happened. She would end up working alongside the X-Men for a time and even rule Limbo under the mantle of Magik herself. She's also been known as Day Tripper before in the comics, so you might know her by that name. Amanda's powers allow her to magically heal, teleport, summon magical bolts, create illusions, alter her appearance, and hypnotize others, as well as cast a good number of other spells with different effects. So yeah, she can do a lot of things. Most magical people, I love listing their powers because like what can't they do is more the question. Number 6. NICO MINORU. NICO is a member and the leader of the Runaways. She initially was raised by her parents, who were revealed to be part of a dark magic cult. Both her parents were dark wizards and attempted to chase NICO down after she attempted to run away from them after learning of their secret. During this altercation, she redeemed the Staff of One, which became embedded within her and now grants her magical abilities. NICO casts spells by remembering painful memories and using incantations. However, once she has cast a spell, she can never cast the same one again. Attempting to do so will result in a random effect as opposed to the same effect that happened when she cast that spell the first time. NICO's magic is based in the world of blood magic, and she often relies on the Staff of One to help her cast grander spells. Number 5. Magic. Magic is obviously one of the most powerful magic users out there. A few times it's been implied and even shown in the comics that Magic has the potential to become the new Sorcerer Supreme because of how powerful she is and how much potential she has. And if you're battling her while she is in limbo, watch out because she will be even more powerful there. Magic's power is tied to that realm, and while in limbo, all that she is capable of becomes basically limitless. Of course, outside of limbo, Magic is less powerful, but even then she is still capable of kicking most people's butts. Even at a lower power level, she's still a powerhouse. And if her Darkchild persona gets unleashed, then you have even more to be afraid of when it comes to what Magic can do and what she'll want to do, because Darkchild is scary. Number 4. Enchantress. Amora the Enchantress is from Asgard and is known for being one of the most powerful magic users within that realm. She is often the enemy of Thor, seeking to destroy him, but is also sometimes his lover, depending on the story. In fact, in many stories, it's kind of the ire or rejection that she has felt as his lover, or of being his lover, that has inspired her hate for him. And other times, she is simply his enemy because she seeks to claim his heart for herself. So she's like, I will get that Thor and I'll make him love me. Mwahaha. Enchantress is capable of using her magics to complete many great feats, and she also has the added power of Asgardian physiology as well, which keeps her almost eternally youthful and grants her increased strength, speed, and endurance. Number 3. Agatha Harkness. One of the most powerful witches around is Wanda's mentor in the comics, Agatha Harkness. Agatha Harkness is much more tough and capable than her frail appearance might lead you to believe. But not only that, she is also way older than she looks. Like, she looks like an elderly lady, but she's really old. It's been revealed that Agatha remembers a time when the sunken city of Atlantis was still above sea level, so she's not just elderly, she's ancient. With all those years of existence comes a ton of experience that Agatha has often put to good use while working as an ally with various heroes and magic users to protect that which she considers to be worthy of protection in the comics. This makes her less a hero or a villain, but more a powerful ally when she wants to be in regards to multiple different causes. However, she usually is concerned with protecting those she cares about and also preventing any apocalyptic events from coming to pass. Number 2. Scarlet Witch. Wanda is one of the most powerful witches out there. While she was trained by Agatha, I would wager at this point that she has far surpassed her mentor in terms of what she's capable of, at least. In fact, she must have, because she did at one point successfully kill Agatha after she learned the truth of what had happened to her twin boys. So unless Agatha let this happen because she felt Wanda deserved revenge, I guess, her death does imply that Wanda is ultimately more powerful and more deadly. The Scarlet Witch is immensely powerful, so powerful in fact that her suffering a mental breakdown caused her fellow colleagues and heroes to consider killing her because they were so frightened of the destruction her powers, emotionally charged and untethered, could cause. We have seen Wanda change all of reality, flip the alignment of many of Earth's heroes and villains, and defeat the Phoenix Force, banishing it. For a while at least. Even though her spells and rituals don't work out exactly as she planned most of the time, you cannot deny the power that is Scarlet Witch. Number 1. Morgan Le Fay. While Morgan Le Fay is one of the baddest baddies out there, she still happens to be super duper powerful, which is pretty surprising considering she's one of the bad guys, so they don't normally win most of the time. Considering the ranking for Merlin on my part 2 of most powerful wizards, it makes sense that Morgan takes our number 1 spot here, as she was once a student of Merlin himself. She is believed to be the most powerful witch and one of the most powerful magic users in the world. Not only that, but she was even considered a possible replacement for Doctor Strange as Earth's Sorcerer Supreme, which would be kinda terrifying, but very interesting to read. Morgan can not only warp reality, but also has a lot more control over how she does it, which is something that Wanda's still working on. She also has extensive knowledge when it comes to all different kinds of magic and has taken on some of Earth's mightiest heroes and villains and won against them. She is capable of time travel, can control the dead, bring others back to life, bring herself back to life even, imbue other beings with power, shapeshift, transmute, and teleport. She is crazy powerful. So powerful, it's scary. Number 10. Salem 7. The Salem 7 is a group of magic users and magical children who are the direct offspring of Nicholas Scratch, Agatha Harkness's son. Although they aren't children while they're on the team. They were children once though. weren't we all? They were each fathered by different mothers, and the Ultimate Universe version of them has the added ability of being able to join together in one form and become the Dragon of Seven. In that universe and that form, they end up fighting against the Fantastic Four despite initially appearing to be a superhero team themselves in that incarnation. The Salem 7 in the 616 universe, however, were a team assembled by their father and used to get revenge on his own mother, Agatha, and their grandmother for leaving the magical community of New Salem, and for her giving up their magical secrets to the Fantastic Four, a crime Nicholas Scratch falsely accused his mother of. On Earth 616, the team is made up of the members of Bruticus, Hydron, Gazelle, Reptilla, Thorn, Vertigo, and Vacuum, a combination of Nicholas's sons and his daughters. Number 9. Elsa Bloodstone. Elsa isn't exactly a witch, but she's definitely witch adjacent, as a good amount of her power is magical in nature, coming from the blood gem she possesses, and is often shown wearing in her bloodstone choker. Aside from that, Elsa will also sometimes carry and wield magical artifacts and books as weapons, in addition to her standard fare of very large guns, which is what you'll usually see her fighting with. Her blood gem gives her magical abilities to heal, cure vampirism, and even allows her to fire magical energy blasts from her hands at times. Number 8. CALYPSO. CALYPSO was Kraven's voodoo priestess ally who would often help to fuel his hatred for Spider-Man. A Spider-Man villain herself, she also almost succeeded in killing Spider-Man once while teamed up with another famous Spider-Man villain, the Lizard. Obsessed with power, CALYPSO also ruthlessly sacrificed her younger sister to get more of it. Her other aliases that she was sometimes referred to as in the comics are the Witch and Hunter of Souls, revealing just how dangerous and magical she is. CALYPSO made only a few appearances before she appeared to meet her grisly end in the late 90s. Her power usually came from her knowledge of voodoo practices, which allowed her to create potent charms and potions that she could use to bewitch others, and even resurrect the dead. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, just a quick reminder to give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying it. It really does help us out here at the channel. Number 7. Pixie. Megan Gwyn is the mutant known as Pixie. Pixie has innate magical abilities, but also possesses a certain amount of dark magical ability as well. Megan received the dark magic within her after Magic in her Dark Child persona attempted to use Pixie's soul, one of the most innocent and pure of her victims at the time, to create a new soul sword. The process, fortunately, was interrupted before it could be completed, instead granting Pixie her own magical soul dagger and leaving a bit of black magic within her in place of the part of her soul that was displaced and used to create that dagger in the process. Pixie has received some tutelage in the mystical arts from Amanda Sefton and Doctor Strange, and was even at one point considered as a potential candidate for the role of Sorcerer Supreme. True story. Number 6. Talisman. Elizabeth II Youngman is the daughter of Dr. Michael II Youngman, aka the hero and mystical healer Shaman, known for his affiliation with Alpha Flight. In time, Elizabeth herself would also join the Alpha Flight team alongside her father. Prior to that, however, for many years Elizabeth was actually estranged from her father, following the death of her mother, which she blamed him for. Being a doctor, Michael had tried desperately to save his wife's life, but ultimately he failed. He also would carry the guilt of her death, blaming himself besides. Liz wields the Talisman of Power, which grants her many mystical abilities, though even without the talisman, she can still manipulate magical energy that is directed at her. With the talisman, Elizabeth can cast all manner of spells, having access to the wealth of Earth's vast mystical energies, and being able to tap directly into that energy to use it as her own source for casting. Number 5. Clea. Clea is known for being the student and lover of Doctor Strange. She is the daughter of the strange villain Umar and the niece of powerful villain Dormammu. Although she appears human, she herself is related to the Faltine race, beings of pure magical energy, and the Muruks. I don't know how to say that. Muruks? Two U's. How do you say two U's together? And the Muruks, extra-dimensional beings gifted in magic who hail from the Dark Dimension. Clea is the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension, which tells you just the level of magic we are talking about when it comes to her abilities. It's believed that she is at the same level as Doctor Strange when it comes to what she's capable of. We've seen her cast magical bolts of lightning, teleport, control other people's minds, create powerful and realistic illusions, summon objects, and exhibit telekinetic powers. Number 4. Satana. Satana is the sister of Daemon Hellstrom and daughter of Satan, or so the rumor goes. Of course, we don't really know for sure if her and Daemon's father is the true devil, as a lot of powerful demonic beings in the Marvel Universe have made such claims before. Even as a little girl, Satana was drawn to the arcane arts. She was caught performing a black magic ritual with her father at a young age, and it was this revelation as to her husband's true identity and form that drove Satana's mother insane, because she kind of stumbled upon them doing that ritual and then she was like, oh dear. Satana is a succubus and as such possesses great magical abilities and beauty, but beyond that she also seems to demonstrate some knowledge of magic, which allows her to cast spells, summon creatures, and manipulate the mind and will of others. In a fight against the powerful magic user Dr. Doom even, she proved to be a formidable foe. Number 3. Selene Gallio. Selene Gallio has the added bonus of years of experience when it comes to her own knowledge in the dark arts. During ancient times, she was revered by other powerful magic users and even caused a sense of trepidation among them for what she might do or be capable of. The only thing with Selene is that she has so many mutant abilities and is considered so powerful in that realm as well. It's kind of hard to tell which feats are owed to her magical abilities and which are accomplished through her use of her mutant powers. Regardless, her being a member of the mutant external group, not to be confused with Eternals, that's a different thing, means that she also has added power, causing her to be a powerful psychic vampire capable of draining life from even the most powerful of foes, a powerful telekinetic and telepath, and making her virtually immortal in most cases. At the same time that Pixie was considered as a potential candidate for Sorcerer Supreme, so was Selene. Number 2. Karnilla. Among Asgardians, and definitely among Nornheim Asgardians, Karnilla is one of the most powerful magic users around. Her power is only said to be surpassed by Odin himself. Karnilla's age and origins are a mystery. That is just how old she's believed to be. We don't know how long she lived in the Asgardian province of Nornheim, only that it seems as though she had been there forever. More recently in the comics, Karnilla took up the title of Queen of Hell when she married Hela, adding that to her long list of titles, which has also included Mistress of Magic, Queen of Enchantment, Enchantress Supreme, and Queen of Norns. Not only does she have extensive knowledge of spells and the arcane, but she also has innate magical ability, which allows her to manipulate magical energy on another level in comparison to others. Number 1. Opal Luna Saturnine. Don't let her similar appearance to Emma Frost in the Ten of Swords event fool you. Saturnine is a powerhouse all of her own, completely separate from the White Queen. Instead, Saturnine's aliases and titles include the most majestic Omniversal Magistrix, her Royal Highness, and the White Witch. Recently, Opal Luna Saturnine was the one to preside over the Otherworld tournament, pitting the mutants of Krakoa against the mutants of Araco, in a battle that would determine who should win the rights to the mutant nation of Earth, with both mutant groups having a solid claim to Krakoa. Saturnine possesses immense power in her role as Omniversal Guardian, granting her ability to warp and shape reality at her will, as demonstrated throughout the Ten of Swords event. She is mortal, but is so skilled in manipulation that she could twist your perspective to the point that you would no longer see the point in attempting to kill her. We saw that happen with Wolverine, and it was pretty scary.
Kicking off the list at number 10, KINETIX. She's a fortune teller with mystical powers. Madame Zodiac made her first appearance in Batman Family issue 17. She began her criminal career by helping out Poison Ivy and Catwoman escape from Huntress and Batgirl. And at that point, she convinced them to rob a museum, which is great, always a cool place to rob. It was part of her master plan so she could use them to obtain a valuable item for herself. And then she straight up vanished, so everybody was pretty concerned after that point. They're all just standing there looking down at some sparkles like, This witch is Zoe Sagan, and her mother Azra was an archaeologist, and growing up, Zoe and her brother Thanot would follow her around the galaxy while she did her job. Now, during these expeditions, her mother inhaled poison gas, which started to attack her lungs. Not good at all. So her mother wasn't going to survive. So Zoe searched through her books and found this artifact that her mother had found, the Moon of Coal, which apparently could turn a drop of love into a wellspring of health. Yummy. So that was the artifact that she got, and soon after, she became obsessed with collecting more magical artifacts, of course. You find one of them, you're like, oh, let's find all of them. This is amazing. Can one charge my phone in 2 seconds? Let's find that one. She once encountered an energy pool on Saturn's moon Titan, which gave her telekinetic abilities. So she mainly goes by the alias KINETIX. And before we go to number 9, if you guys want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up on this video because it does help us out quite a bit. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Now back to some more witches. Number 9, the Mad Mod Witch. Also referred to as Fashion Thing, and no, it's not Ben Grimm wearing a polo. The Fashion Thing is a denizen of the dreaming. The dreaming is a reality that exists as long as creatures and humans, whatever the case, have the ability to dream. So it's always gonna exist, basically. The witch made her first appearance in the Unexpected issue 108. She is the personification of style and design. I mean, her first appearance alone, hello, she's showing off the fishnet stockings. She's super pumped to see what her cauldron will brew up. Electric cauldron, that is, you know, because she's a mod witch and all. And she brews up tales of the unexpected to anybody who's willing to listen. And she's pretty cool. She actually has been referred to as the Mad Madonna Witch, and in 1988 she started to refer to herself as the Mad Yuppie Witch. So when it comes to witches, I mean, she's pretty badass, you gotta admit. Number 8, Queen of Fables. Making her first debut in JLA issue 47, the Queen of Fables is pretty interesting. So once upon a time, she ruled until Princess Snow White, yep, Snow White, you heard me, came along and trapped her in the Book of Fables. Snow White used the book to turn fact into fiction, and Bob's your uncle. And then of course, many years down the road, she was released. And now it's a horror film. This poor mother reads a book to her young son, and as she's reading it, she realizes that it's not for the faint of heart. So she gets out, and now she's looking for revenge. She's escaped out of the book. It's terrifying. She did this by turning Manhattan into an enchanted forest full of folktale creatures. That's a nightmare scenario. What makes the Queen of Fables so interesting, at least to me, is that she doesn't know the difference between reality and fiction. She treats everything like it's a fairy tale. So if you have any theater school friends, they're kind of like that, only, you know, with powers, so a little bit worse. Just a little bit. So one of the only things that can hurt her is Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, of course because it snaps her out of it. Number 7, Laura Nielsen. The Silver Sorceress made her debut in Justice League of America issue 87. Described as having hex power, she's able to completely control it. Now, she comes from the world Angor, not alone however. She was accompanied by Blue Jay and Wandjina, and they were the only survivors of a nuclear fallout. So they came to fight the Justice League actually until both teams realized that the true enemy and the reason behind the destruction of Laura's homeworld were robots that manipulated both teams. Probably Dyson robots. Those Dyson products are nuts. Have you seen those things? They just clean your house. You're not even home. They'll just clean all your shit. The Silver Sorceress and Blue Jay both ended up joining the European branch of the Justice League International until Silver Sorceress got an arrow to the stomach, and before she went out like a hero, she managed to entrap Dreamslayer. Number 6, Witchfire. Rebecca Carstairs was of course a witch, but she was also a pop star. This one's interesting. Okay, so Rebecca made her debut in JLA issue 61, and she's known as a famous singer. She's known as a famous model, an actress, and of course, most importantly, a witch. Talk about a combo. Oh my god, she's gonna get an EGOT probably very soon. So after a chance encounter, she found herself working alongside Wonder Woman. So she decided the hashtag superhero life was a pretty sweet gig after all. So she joined the superhero team, the Power Company, in order to raise her Q rating. Pyrokinesis, magic, singing. I mean, way to set the bar high, Rebecca, damn. Number 5, Madame Xanadu. She made her first debut in Doorway to Nightmare issue 1 back in 1978. Nimue in Voodoo once cast a spell on Merlin, the magician himself, which is not the best idea, because what he did was he then took her magic away from her. Now, she is a descendant from gypsies, so she ran a fortune-telling parlor, and she tried to help those who are troubled with the supernatural. She actually gained immortality by beating death in a game of cards. And no, that game was not Uno, because death would always win that game. I'm death. She's so interesting because she uses tarot cards to interpret what she senses, which is like, I know 7 people who do that, but she's like the real deal, so it's like, okay. She can levitate herself or other objects, real Matilda style, and she also doesn't need a broom or an Uber because she can easily teleport herself. Number 4, ZATANNA ZATARA. Making her first debut in Hawkman issue 4, ZATANNA ZATARA is the daughter of a magician, Giovanni Zatara, and Cindella, who is a member of the Homo Magi race. Now, she was raised in New York by her father, quite close to the Arkham Asylum, which is perfect for those trick-or-treating times, you know? I don't know why I did this for trick-or-treating, apparently I do it online. ZATANNA thought her mother had passed away after her birth, but in actuality, Cindella faked her death to return to her people. See, the thing that makes ZATANNA unique right off the bat, besides what I just said, is that she's a direct descendant of Leonardo da Vinci, and she's related to Nostradamus. so not too shabby for the family tree. Zatanna grew up to become a successful stage illusionist before she discovered her powers, so she's already an OG. She's a homo magi, which I mentioned earlier, so maybe she was born with it, maybe it wasn't Maybelline after all. She casts spells by speaking keywords backwards, like saying pots, for example, would get her target to stop. Now imagine if she looked at a race car and was like, race car. It would just remain the same. See, I'm smart. Number 3, Raven. Rachel Roth, aka Raven, is of course a key member of the Teen Titans. She's a tele-empathetic, she can teleport and send her soul self out to the battle. We see this for the first time in DC Comics Presents issue 26. So during this, her soul can fight physically. It can create a force field and act as her eyes and ears. She can just float into the cinema and watch a movie while being at home, just eating on some noodles. What a dream. She was born into it. Her mother was Angela Roth, a human, and her father was the demon overlord emperor, Trigon. So, not a human. Her mother retreated to an alternate dimension where Raven was born and raised in that dimension called Azeroth. She initially went to the Justice League after learning that Trigon was returning, but Zatanna sensed her demonic parentage and was like, maybe join another team. Sorry, spooky girl. Hard pass this time. Number 2, Enchantress. AKA June Moon, she made her first debut in Strange Adventures issue 187 back in 1966, where right at the top it says, meet the switcheroo witcheroo, the Enchantress. She's a member of the Suicide Squad and her origins are pretty tragic. June Moon was a freelance artist who was dating this guy named Alan Dell. Dell invited her out one evening to a party at the haunted Terror Castle, which, yeah, sounds like a pretty good time for sure, but while she was there she fell into a chamber with this being named Zamor who granted her witch powers. So now every time she says the name Enchantress, she changes into a green-eyed, powerful, well, Enchantress. So Zamor got her to eliminate this evil presence from the castle, and Alan saw this and was super into her. I mean, you had a party at a haunted castle. I mean, this is right up his alley, for sure. She didn't tell them that she was also June Moon. So she would save this for later on, and then every now and then, just like a few issues later, June, I mean the Enchantress, saved Dell from an underground monster. What a sweetheart. But the only downside was whenever June used those Enchantress abilities and created magic too quickly, her personality became volatile and evil, which explains how she dips into the villain role, you see? And finally, number 1, CIRCE. Not from Game of Thrones. Making her first debut in Wonder Woman Volume 2, Issue 17, Wonder Woman can sense something on a nearby island. So she says there's something strange there, she can just feel it, it's in her soul, it's beckoning her. Something is watching her, something is reaching, something is making her feel cold. What is it? And then at the turn of a page, readers watch in horror as Diana falls and she starts to become extremely cold. So while the crew's trying to figure out how to help, we see the eyes of the witch herself muttering the words, "Let that be your first warning, Amazon." CIRCE is an ancient immortal sorceress who's actually known as one of the most powerful sorcerers on Earth. With limitless magical power, she's able to tap into the forces of the universe and manipulate them herself. She's able to alter the forms of mortal beings, so she can turn you into an animal if she felt like it. Being the daughter of Hyperion and Perseus, I mean, she's also immortal, so that's fun. Awesome.
Number 10, Mastermind woos the Scarlet Witch. If you go way back in the comics, back to the very beginning of X-Men, you'll find out all about the first person to compete for Wanda's heart, way before Vision was even in the picture. We're talking about Mastermind. And of course, Mastermind's attempts to woo Wanda left us wincing at just how painful they were to read about. Jason Wingard would obnoxiously assume that Wanda wanted to be with him, and that they would make the best match ever and power couple. But he was quick to anger and would also threaten to defeat Wanda almost every time she denied him. Be like, "Y'all make you pay for denying me." Oh geez. She was just none too impressed with his powers, which she dismissed as being kinda lame because they were just illusions. And honestly, not even some of the best illusions out there really. So Wanda, I feel you. Also, Mastermind's just a creepy guy, so it's probably hard for him. Well, it can't be that hard for him to find love. He did have daughters, so someone was into it. Number 9, Namor's comparison. With all the classic issues I've read, I really should not be too surprised by this one. And yet. At one point, Namor finds himself allied with Wanda and helps her to strike out at the X-Men to get her brother back, whom they have kidnapped, before Magneto destroys her brother along with the mutant heroes. Namor, however, doesn't seem to just help Wanda out of the kindness of his heart. Namor isn't really big on kindness, to be honest. He's not the kindest person I know. He helps Scarlet Witch because he finds himself attracted to her, even comparing his level of attraction to that of his feelings for Sue Storm in the Fantastic Four. What? Comparing these two women seems pretty absurd because, well, they're both different. They both look very different as well, but also just the fact that he could only have helped Scarlet Witch if he was attracted to her also just seems ridiculous. Like, why couldn't he just help her because he wanted to? Though, I know it was the 60s and that's just kind of how it went in comics. Are you a pretty lady hero or a villain or just a character? Well then, everyone's probably attracted to you. Before we move on to this next spot on our list, if you enjoy learning more about Wanda with me, feel free to give this video a thumbs up and maybe we'll even give you some more Wanda lists. I love talking about Scarlet Witch, so I'm down with it. Number 8, almost marrying Dr. Doom. Gasp. This is a moment that had everyone doing double takes and asking, but why? Wanda was believed by Wiccan, her reincarnated son, Billy Kaplan, to be in danger in the castle of Victor Von Doom. But when he went to save her, he learned that she was there of her own choice, and she seemingly was head over heels in love with Victor? Huh? What? It turns out that Wanda had some selective memory loss, which may have helped to sway her into accepting Doom's marriage proposal. But even after she got her memories back, she still actually seemed to want to marry Doom. She seemed to be genuinely interested in him. In fact, in a weird turn of events, it was villain Doom who actually ended up spurning her after he attempted to take on her chaos magic, but found it to be too powerful for him to wield. Even knowing that Doom had likely manipulated her for a chance at that power, she still tried to help him, only for him to rebuke her, resort to name-calling, so rude, Doom, and insist that she was so unskilled that he was somehow, in fact, behind all of the wrongdoings of her past. He's like, you don't even know what you're doing. You think even you did all the things that were bad? That wasn't you, that was me. What? Number 7, Vision dating Carol Danvers. And if you're wondering what this has to do with Wanda, well, she was right there when this all started. Awkward. Especially considering that Miss Marvel and Scarlet Witch were always painted to me as being close friends in the Avengers. In fact, I think Carol actually might be one of Wanda's BFFs, definitely at least within that Avengers team, within that friend circle. After Vision and Wanda were no longer together, Vision decides to ask Warbird, aka Carol Danvers, out, right when Wanda and Carol are in the middle of some playful banter. While Wanda says it's all fine, her reaction seems to imply that it really isn't. Like, look at that face. Also, I feel like a date between Vision and Carol would be even more awkward than Carol's date with Spider-Man. And that was pretty awkward. It was cute, but it was awkward, so yeah. Number 6, M-Day. One of the most insane moments in Wanda's history would have to be when she eradicated the Earth of almost all mutants. This happened as a result of Wanda being confronted by her friends, the Avengers, and those who had never really liked her, the mutants of the X-Men. After making a world in which mutants were the dominant group and trying to give most of her friends and the mutants a happy life, this reality came tumbling down. And in the aftermath, everyone still wanted her dead. In fact, people that didn't want her dead before, like Spider-Man, really wanted her dead. Not knowing what else to do, Wanda did the unthinkable and cast a spell with the words, "No more mutants," eradicating all of the mutants on planet Earth. While now we accept this as part of mutant and comic book history, at the time this was pretty shocking and elevated Wanda's level of powers even more than we thought possible. Number 5, punished for a mental break. And if you thought it couldn't get weirder than Wanda getting rid of most of the mutants with them coming after her still, even after she was simply trying to give them what they wanted, it does get weirder. Let's rewind a bit to talk about another shocking moment in Wanda's history around House of M, when her friends and the mutants had a meeting to decide what to do about Wanda. What to do. The Scarlet Witch at this point hadn't made the House of M reality yet, but was mentally suffering, and Professor Charles Xavier was no longer capable of containing her unpredictable powers and dangerous mind. so dangerous, so crazy. Most of the talk was about how Wanda needed to be taken out, with a few heroes speaking up against this, and Xavier actually not knowing what to do either way. So helpful, thanks Xavier. It was a hard situation to be sure, but it still blows my mind that these people who knew that Wanda was at her core a hero considered killing her because she was volatile after going through a lot of stuff. A little more compassion here would have been nice, but hey. I'm still waiting for compassion for Scarlet Witch. I feel like people are always just like a punching bag for everyone. This poor woman. Number 4, raised by a cow. It's true. One of the High Evolutionary's first creations happened to be the evolved cow, Bova. Bova Eyeshire would act as the midwife when both Wanda and Pietro were born, and would act as their nursemaid. Bova even gets a seat at the table when Wanda and Vision sit down to a family dinner together. We can see Bova is considered one of the members of the family and is featured there, while Simon Williams, aka Wonder Man, whose brain waves were used in the creation of Vision, gives his toast. So weirdly enough, Wonder Man's like, you're like my brother, Vision. Yeah, Wanda's family tree is pretty weird and super complicated at this point. What's even more weird is that Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver aren't the only heroes that Bova has helped to raise or to act as a midwife for. Also, if you want to learn more about Scarlet Witch's family, please let us know in the comments, because I'd love to do a video just on all that stuff. There's a lot of things there. Number 3, her relationship with Quicksilver. I really didn't want to go here, but then I thought, hey, if I don't go there, you'll all be wondering why it was missing when it was just such a gross and confounding moment in the Ultimate line of comics. You're gonna be like, how is all of the stuff that you listed here worse than that? So thank you for making me go here. I didn't want to go here, but we're gonna go here. In the Ultimate Universe, for those who may not know, we got different versions of a lot of our characters. Some of these were really cool. For example, we might not actually have Samuel Jackson as Nick Fury if not for the Ultimate Universe, where we actually saw a version of Nick Fury that basically was inspired and based off of the actor himself. In fact, this version of Nick would even cross over to the 616 universe even after the Ultimate Universe of 1610 was gone. However, for Wanda and Pietro, the changes they saw weren't nearly as good or cool. In the Ultimate Universe, the siblings' close connection is reimagined as a romantic relationship, one that shocked even Ultimate Wolverine. And you know, in any reality, Wolverine would be a hard guy to shock. Number 2, her kids. Oh boy, Wanda's kids are a whole series of WTF moments, one right after the other. First, there is the fact that Wanda and Vision couldn't actually have children naturally because Vision was a synthezoid. So how did she get pregnant? By using pieces of Mephisto's soul to conceive. Yep, her children are literal demon spawn. Even Vision knew something was up, and he himself actually encouraged his wife, Scarlet Witch, to face the fact that their children were not theirs really, and were a lie, which is also pretty shocking, and I mean, it's kind of awful. I mean, you know, he's right, but yeesh, Vision, have some tact. He's just yelling at her, and I'm like, ah! Wanda was forced to give her children up, and Agatha Harkness, her mentor, ensured that the souls were returned to Mephisto after their destruction, and then wiped Wanda's memory of them. Another yikes. From there, it gets weirder as the fragments of soul somehow got loose again, and then were reborn as Wanda's kids, but in other bodies from separate families. Does that make sense? Number 1, no more mutant. If we are talking about one of the most surprising and confusing moments in comic book history for Wanda, it's gotta be the moment when it was revealed that she was never actually a mutant. Ah, what? Her or her brother, who were for a time loyal members of Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and were led to believe that they were actually Magneto's children. But apparently, no, none of that was real. It was all a fake out created by the High Evolutionary, who disguised them as mutants after experimenting on them. However, the truth started to come out when Wanda, after casting a blood curse spell on her family members, found that Magneto was not actually affected by it, whereas Pietro was. This is definitely a weird revelation, though it creates lots of holes in past comic book history and stories. Like, how was Wanda's power able to be amplified and utilized by mutant powerhouse Hope Summers in order to defeat the Phoenix Force if Wanda's powers themselves weren't at all mutant? This isn't Hope's whole thing that like she can only do that with mutant powers?